Uh-huh.
I thought you'll get the messages now. I thought you might appreciate it.
I do.
And then
It's a
I had some because I'd said, oh, I've got buoys, and I've got like 4 or 5 buoy paintings I'm working on. I got a couple of nighttime paintings. So I did have someone say, oh, I'd like to see your nighttime. And I'm just trying to think. It's been a while since I think probably maybe this time last year I did a nighttime one, or at least part of it. And then, I've been working on this one here. Some of you may recognize this one. Remember that? I started that in one of our one of these open studios. So that was fun. So that was good. But anyway, yeah, glad you guys are here. So yeah, so it's this has been on my easel and off my easel, and now it's back on it again. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the nighttime scenes, and I'm just going to get going painting on it so you can kind of see how it develops. So I'm glad you guys are here. So there we go. Anyway, so I had done these ahead of time, and I wouldn't necessarily say they're in my own mind, I'm seeing where the darks and lights are, but what I was really looking for are, this is a combination of China marker and some dark where that is China marker. I mean, I'm just, pressing really hard on it. The lighter toned areas are also China marker. And then I used gouache, both as opaque, and then I watered it down. But the idea was to look at the different formats. And you've seen me do this before. I do little sketches, what's the best format that I like. And truthfully, frequently there's a couple of them that I really liked. It's just like, what is my overall impression of the scene? What am I looking for? And I remember this is actually in Charleston, and this is this really pretty corner, and they've like just the lights from the little cafe restaurant, and people walking, lights on the street. And I wanted to be able to capture both the setting of people in the evening, but also the light patterns that were going on, which is why I just kind of devoted little pockets of color, because those were my main areas of color in my head. So what I was thinking was like, okay, if I get these into this little, value sketch, and just as a reminder, if people can make sure that they mute themselves so that we don't have that in the background, that'd be great. I think
Sorry, that was me talking to myself.
Yeah, what I'll do is I will mute people just in case. Give me just a minute to do that. Okay, feel free if you want to ask a question, clearly unmute yourself. But so anyway, as much as I like this panoramic one down here, I really felt like that idea of putting it into a square actually created this almost like tension between all the movement that was going on, trying to avoid that center line. And it captured both the height that I wanted and also that feeling of movement between the street and what's happening, where the building is. Clearly that does too. Midline's always an issue, and especially with the square. So what I did, and I've lightened it a few times, is that is the exact center right there where I put let me move in a little bit. You don't need to see me anymore. So here we go. Let me just scoot it a little bit this way. Okay, so I just kind of keep an eye on where that center dot is, and it just arrives every once in a while. If it starts to disappear because I'm putting too much black in, I put that dot back in. And the reason that is so important is because with a square, you can very easily wind up quartering your painting if you're not careful. So I wanted the straight line to be below it. I wanted the heads of the pedestrians to be below it. And I wanted areas to be above. And I did not want this building to be in the center. I didn't want the tree to be in the center. So that little dot, any sort of trick you can do to remind yourself of compositional issues you're going to encounter in a painting, I mean, that'll disappear easily. So that is not going to stay, but I lightened it even more so that you guys could see the exact center. It's from when I did this, it's undergone a couple of transformations. There's acrylic ink under here for all the dark areas. And I use this yellow acrylic ink for all the light areas, just to really get, although the yellow is not going to stay, that's my key. That's where some of my lighter areas are. And as I went along, I realized I really needed to readjust the height and the width over here. So this part here, I was able to just come back in, add the dark, and just really press this into the board. And this is a textured board, so it's actually on birch bark, a birch board, and I coated it with gesso, 2 coats of the pumice ground, and then I painted on it, and I got a general basic big shapes of the dark and light areas. So I know, Deb, you've seen this at an earlier stage, so it's gone through a little bit. And what's beauty about that board is you can just get in there, like this area in here, I just got color and I just pushed it in. And I'm not a big blender with my finger, but I do find that with the board, you can just get it into the grooves. And you can't even tell there's grooves there, but there are. You'll see that as soon as I start painting, pay attention, because what's going to happen is you're going to see the texture underneath start to show up. I might actually go in, no, I think I'll leave it the way it is. Okay, so next thing that I've been doing this afternoon was just setting up a couple of key. I'm really focused on my dark areas right now. So I have a piece of dark Canson pastel paper, which is a nice one to use for your color sketches. I had tried black construction paper, just trying to do it a little cheaper, but the black really was not that dark, so it really didn't work out well. So I tested my colors, and I know that anything that is falling in this area is going to be identified as one of my lightest areas. I'm avoiding whites. This pink here, which is this absolutely gorgeous fuchsia, is representing the next area of light. And right now I'm just getting in all these darks, and I think you can see them. There's a whole variety in here. So I'm playing with that balance of darks that are cool and darks that are warm. And it's tarmac, and it's some sort of cobbles, and it's cement. So I'm just really incorporating a whole load of different colors in here just to get my basic designs and get that color in here. So I'm just going to start in. I'm using this one right here. So it's kind of a neutral color. And I'm just going to start to get in, and I'm carving out shapes. I think I'm going to change these characters. There's actually 2 men. I'm going to turn them into a man and a woman walking down the street. That's at least what's in my head. Cutting this edge right here. With people that are in crowds, the height of the people will change, but the headlines are usually the line that the head falls on is usually about the same. Of course, it varies depending on how tall somebody is, but if you just bear in mind, I am not going to have people going up and down. The height is pretty much the same. There's a child in there, that's a little different. Okay, so I really want to start working on this area here. I've gotten my really dark areas. I'm not putting a lot of detail in back there. Actually, before I do that, let me just pull out a darker blue right here. Let me double check it here. Oh, look at that. See, don't go by that. I show you guys this all the time. It's not really as dark as you think it is. So let's try a different dark blue. What I want to do with this blue, This guy looks as though he would be dark. Okay, he is dark. I'm looking for a blue that's got a little bit more blue to it. This one's very gray. He's a little bit lighter. I'm just going to come back here. I'm going to set in some of that dark tarmac and these strokes coming down. And that yellow is that key to remind myself that I'm going to be coming back in with light on top of that. I have a variety of cars back here. I forgot to shut the door. Hopefully you can't hear the phone ringing. We're just going to go through here. Just giving that in there. So just get the shapes. And this car is sitting a little bit lower. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring this front right in here. Just to remind me that he is not parked. He's in the front. So that'll work out well. And I'll carve around and I'll get the shapes of him. I'm focused on this blue. Okay, I want to get this a little bit. This is a little under an awning here, so I'm going to get that a little bit lighter. Got a couple of patches over here, side of this building. I'm going to carve it around as if because there's some trees here too.
Betsy, I have a quick question.
Yes, absolutely, Deb.
So again, it's Deborah. So that blue is actually it's not a bright dark. It sort of blends in with your paper, right? You know how we were talking about that?
I'm sorry. Can you say that again, please? I'm going to turn my volume down. I forgot all about that phone too. Can you say that again, Deborah? Sorry.
Sure. So the blue that you're using now, when you tried it out on your black paper, it blended in with your black paper.
Yes.
It was one, right? So
yes.
Is that a neutral, kind of a neutral?
No, what it is it actually, you know what? Here. Okay, look at how dark it looks there.
Okay.
That's the same one, okay?
Okay.
So right now what I'm looking for is it's got far more of a feeling of blue to it than the other one I was using. Is that this one right here?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, good gosh. Where is the one that I had, the really dark one? Okay, I don't know where that really dark one is, but this is what I was looking for. Something that has blue to it, but it's I'm going to use the word muted instead of neutral. So
okay.
It's muted because it's a blue that has a lot of dark in it, which actually lessens the intensity of the blue, but it still kept the blue. Sometimes you add so much dark that you can't actually see the color to it. So I'm looking for a dark pastel sticks that have color so that I can actually see the color. And some of them I want to be able to see them a little bit more and some a little bit less.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, does that help?
No, it does. I was just thinking about when we did this, how you use the color of the paper and the pastels that blended in with it as our midtones.
Right, yes. So in this case, okay, let me put this dark one here. Okay, so this is so it's all that value look here. So if I'm understanding you correctly, this one's got a little bit more of a green to it, but it's still very dark. That's this guy right here. Okay, and I'm going to just bring in a little bit of that just in here. I'm going to go over it later, but I'll put that in there so you can see it. So what you have to remember is when I was working on the board's not as dark as the black paper. I don't make it as dark as the black paper. I use colors. I used a dark violet underneath it where I want some of that dark violet to show through, but I'm going to wind up covering a lot of it up. With the black paper, when you paint on it, you wind up really using the black paper. So it's slightly different process in that sense, at least for me.
Yeah, you're right.
Does that make sense?
And no, it does. You're not on paper. Okay.
Okay, yeah, it's that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to bring this up. So see, so if I bring in this light color right here, what's going to happen is I'm going to get the edge of the building showing up a little bit more because I don't want the building to have a lot of light in it. I want that to really disappear, and that horizon line or that city line of a cityscape, there's usually a lot of light that is falling towards the eye view line there, because what happens is you see the light coming from other, the city street lights, house lights, businesses, all sorts of things. And lights will start to appear in these buildings, but I'm on the dark phase, so I'm not actually adding any of the lights right now. Okay, so I left off with this. I have to remember which blue I was using. This blue. So this blue is in here. I can still see it's a nice blue. It's not bright, but it's just enough that it's dark. I'll be able to put other colors over it. I'm going to drag this in a couple of areas here. I've got light on the sidewalk here. So if I just drag it lightly, the yellow that's underneath is going to show through because of the kind of textured paper that I'm using. Okay, I've got couple of dark areas up here. These lines in the window, they go on last. Okay, I'm not trying to paint in between the lines. I'll add those lines on later. I'm just painting this as a whole shape. Again, just blue. It's a nice, cool color. It's going to represent some of those darks that are in there. Keep it really loose. It's lighter value than this area right here, so I'm able to show a little contrast. There's a couple figures in here, a table in here. And because this blue is muted, but it's dark, I'm able to just get rough shapes in, and I don't have to worry about what they actually, them representing anything directly. I'm going to use a little of that, bring up the shapes of the figures. It's all a value exercise right now. Value, really dark. Not going to get in there. I'm not putting the trash bin in. Okay, dark. Just going to put a little bit of light just on the side of that, just so that I remember that that's where the light's hitting these two figures here. So that, and it's not too bright. So if I use too bright of a color now, I might be adding, this is very violet here. So what I'm doing is this is the same blue. You don't have to use a whole load of colors. So this same blue, as you saw, it looks different here than it does down here. So if I take and just lightly drag this over that very deep, it's probably a Cherry Ludwig aubergine, I'm still keeping that sense of darkness, but I've now broken it up. Okay, I have a dark red, and it's really, to me, falling more in this end here. So what I want to do is I want to pull out a red that's actually even darker than that, because I also want to show a little bit of warmth. So I'm going to do a little test here. Oh, geez. He's not really that dark. He's a nice color, but he's not dark enough. So let's go for this guy here. I bet is too brown. Yeah, he's too brown. Let's try this guy. Oh, okay, here. Okay, see how he's got more red in him now, but he's definitely darker than everything that I've put down, which is what I'm looking for. Okay, and there's this lovely dark swatch of a reddish color that's right here. Okay, and there's different shapes in here of the red, and figures can go in there later, but right now everything is just really all about just getting in shapes of dark coming in, dark here, a little bit more interpretive there, dark coming around the figures. And this area here has a little warmth of a feeling to it, so I'm just dragging that warmth. This is where the table setting is, right here. Really not so sure I'm going to put all that detail in, but I do want to have the impression of it. This is going to get lighter, and up here, same thing. I'm going to get a little bit of this dark red. It's going to go drag a little bit over what was there. And you can see on this board, it does not totally cover same way it does on paper. So you have to kind of go with the texture that's underneath. And remember the lines that are here, I'm putting them on later. Because I don't need them right now. And I don't, you know, that feeling is sometimes when you're painting something and you're trying to avoid the edges. Well, I don't have to worry about the edges because I'm just not putting it in. So this red makes a difference. So I'm going to take this red, a little bit of warmth, and I'm going to just lightly drag it down in here too. And although I don't necessarily totally envision a painting on completion, I do in my mind's eye have an idea of where I see different colors. So I look in here and I can say, okay, I see some muted dark reds and violets and blues. I can look in here and say, okay, I see some more lights in there, but it's still falling in that same pattern with the exception of some lighter, warmer colors that can go either orange or peach, which is why I pulled this guy out right here. Okay, let's drag this a little bit right there. And he's gonna go lighter, a little light here. I made that a little bit wider in my drawing. I felt like it wasn't going to work that way I wanted. And since I'm putting some here, I'm going to come through. I'll put a couple of other areas in here. See, that yellow is always going to remind me that I know I'm going to come in and add lighter colors on top of that. Bring around little drops, little hints. These take, you know, quite a bit of time to paint. So you'll at least see this beginning middle-ish section. You know what I might do is I'll do a little bit more up in this area. I'll move to the lights a little quicker so you can see how that's going to go in this area. Not so sure I'm crazy about this color on the outside, but I'm going to, and I'll show you which one it is. It's this. It's a very dark, warm brown. This is it right there. Okay. Just look that up again. I had sprayed this at one point with alcohol just to kind of flatten everything. So the reason I may not like this at the moment is because I have no color around it, no light. Okay, that's really bright. So I'm going to just swing this a little bit lighter over here. Come down, come over here. And I'm seeing a real light blue right there. Bring it in. Bring it in. And then there's a really strong yellow. Let me test my yellow over here. Because I don't want to pick up a yellow that feels like it's white. Okay, really, that's one of my goals, is avoiding that feeling of a color that is light and too white. I can still see the orange underneath there, which is what I want. I'm just going to do a real light drag now. So you'll be able to see. Okay, I'm going to bring this over just a little bit. There's not a lot of yellow here, but I'll just bring a little touch of that yellow as if it's streaming through. And let me just break this guy for a minute because I have this nice orange. Come back in. It's just a little. Variations on here. Shapes are starting to appear. Don't want to have a lot up in here. There's a lot more light over on this end. Put a little bit here, have it stretch there. Okay, this guy here. Let's come over. I'll come in with that yellow just a little bit right on this edge. Just to bring that up. I can do the same thing down here. Gonna get that yellow right in here. Get it in the top of the edge of that door. And get a little bit of it right there. And then it does show up in this window over here. And keeping an eye on, you know, the heights of things, because that's the ceiling and that's the light coming through. I'm not going to bring really any yellow into the ceiling, but I am going to put that there for the 3 people that I may wind up putting in there. And there's this lovely bit right here. So I'll put a little there. So the windows start to take shape. Hopefully you can see that. I'm just going to double check my. Okay, that's this one. This is why a test swatch is helpful. This is the darker one right here. Yes, that's the darker one. Okay, good. Okay, get a little bit darker right here. A little bit more color. Get a little bit darker right here. And I don't want that isolated so much with that really dark, so I'm just gonna press down. I don't know if you're seeing that texture show up at all, but the texture is coming up in a whole load of different places. This is the dark one, so this can be perfect right there. And then the light blue. Because I don't want to use the light yellow that I have because I'm afraid it's going to look like white. So I'm using this blue, which really has a very much of a blue feeling. Let me put a white next to it so you can see the white. Okay, so there's the white above it. Well, I don't know, on camera it kind of looks the same, but anyway, it looks really blue to me. So hopefully it stays that way. Okay, so you can see the way these windows are going to start to come together. So I'm going to get that light running across there. Okay, you don't have to, it's a person right here. I'm going to just bring a little bit of it down. It's one head, there's another head. And I'm going to soften that edge by just a little bit dragging over that yellow. And then I'm going to do the same thing here. Although this one, I don't have a person and I feel like I want to add something dark here. So I think I'm going to do person. These are just, you know, squiggly ideas. Okay, and this one I'm going to give them a different position that they're standing in. There's the base of the building right there. So I have to certainly make sure that the legs are not in line with the building. And that person's bending over, and I think I'll just make a smaller person right here, a little kid standing there. So now this gives me my key. I'm going to come right around the back side of that person. Okay, and you're just going to come in just a little bit. This side of my finger. Side of my finger, just to give a little bit of that head showing up there. So now I feel like that works better. Okay, let's see. I feel like this one should have a little bit more yellow on this side. So I'm going to come back in. Remember that blue that's underneath there is not, I mean, that's perfect, you know, because when I drag the yellow over, it reminds me also that I don't want to cover up all that blue that's there. So I'm going to just put it over lightly so that that blue still shows through. And then again, there's a nice light that's fallen there that's really light. So I'm just going to come in and I can see the edge of, so now I have the blue, yellow, and the white that are all going to come around the head of this person. Okay. Just going to use my finger, just press on it. And I'm doing that because this textured paper, I don't want to get in there with my finger and do any poking around and blending. Okay, so those windows are starting to look really good. Okay, I like it. Blue. Now these have a lot of warmth in them. These guys are farther away. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out a different blue. And this is the same one that I used right here for the lights that are coming from the buildings that are low. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to do some very vertical lines coming across. These are going to get broken up later on again because I'll I guess at this point I was having trouble thinking and talking at the same time. A little less back there, a little less here, just little flecks of it. You don't have to do a lot of painting on this textured board. You let the texture do a lot of the work. I put a little bit of this up here. I'm saying that maybe what I want to do is just bridge a little bit of that blue over on this side because I've got a little bit blue, a little blue there, a little bit of blue just to show that contrast. I think I'm going to do the same down in here, just get rid of some of the light that I have because it's, even though it's blue, we can see it, it is really looking super light. So I'm just going to come in with the blue just to get rid of that feeling of white. So just have little pockets. And you come around here. So what I've been doing is just kind of trying to get this pattern of lights. And these patterns of light are going to affect what's going to happen down here because this is being lit partially by that. I've also, which I forgot to show you, I also put little marks here for where I had my traffic lights. Okay, and again, that's just another reminder. And then there's the walking man is there. Okay, and a measure. Okay, it's not directly in the middle. That's good. Okay, let's get a darker orange up in there. That guy's not dark enough. Let's try this guy. Okay. Okay. He's darker than what was down here. He's still muted. There he is. Look how dark he looks up here. It's really a reddish orange. I'm going to come across the top of this. I feel like the orange that I had there really was more on the verge of a brown. And I would like to have a little bit more color in this area. And there's a lot more light that's hitting the side of this building here. And I can always straighten up that line later with the sky. You know, that carving out, take advantage of it. Okay. It's the same with the blue and the violet there. So I like that a lot better with that, that orange. So what I'm going to do is, it worked well here. This bottom building here has, put a little bit, not a lot. Of course, now, don't forget over here, I had a blue over here. It's a lot darker. So I don't actually want to make my lines too, I don't want to press down too hard because I want to keep this area a little bit darker. I have a couple of windows that are there. Kind of changed the design pattern over here a little bit because I didn't want to have any tangents, you know, meaning I didn't want I had to change the poles around a bit. They were too in line with the people and the heads and so I kind of shifted things a little bit. I shifted the walkway over slightly so I could get the people on the left-hand side. So it's a slow process of just going back and forth and getting. Okay, that's that little bit of warmth. See the way the trees are starting to show up now back there? Okay, because I'm giving the building, which is catching more of the light than the trees, slightly lighter, warmer feel. Now with the trees, I can come in with a very dark green, and I have a whole pile of sticks over here. Let's see. Okay, again, see, I'm moving away from a lot of these really, well, that guy's not really dark. I'm moving away from some of these darks, so I'm moving a little bit more into this middle dark area. And this is going to be too light for the tree because see, if I stick it here, the tree now does not stand out. It's similar value. So this value is great. This very muted green is great. So I'm going to use the muted green for the building. This guy's a little bit warm, but okay. Leave it there. You know what? I bet that, yes, that looks really nice on top of that violet. I'm just going to take and just move in just a little bit. Oh, it looks a little bit fuzzy. Okay, I don't think you can see the strokes as much as I wanted you to. Let's just move that down a little bit. I don't think you really need to see the photograph anymore. There we go. Okay, back to that. I'm going to bring in that light blue back here. That one that I was using. I'm just going to highlight a couple of those areas in there. The windows. And as I do this, the head of the people should show up a little bit more. Have a little bit right there. And you bring in a really nice aqua. This should be all in this middle wing. Yep, it's kind of in that middle ground. So I get that. Want him up here too, so I'm going to just make that just a little bit bigger. Okay, keep that through there, come through. Usually what I have to do with the figures is just kind of come up and just straighten them up afterwards. Getting a little bit too much light there, so I want to be careful. Bring that down. A little bit more color right there. Perfect. Okay, edge of the tree is actually going to catch a little bit of the light, so I'm going to put a little of that right there right now. And I can see that this below it is a little bit too much the same value, so I'm going to have to shift that and use that same little bits of green over here. Not a lot, just a little bit, because I don't want it the same on both sides. Bring that through. Let me put that over here. Okay, let's get this. I like the color here. The dark, one of the ways that you can do the dark, let me pull this, not dark enough. Let's see this. Okay. I'm going to do it freehand. Okay, so this is slightly chipped here. That's all right. I'll just straighten that up later. And then the windows. So what I want to do is just like a little mark here. So I want them all roughly the same. So that guy came in just a little bit. Could use a ruler too. So feel free, use a ruler if you want to use a ruler. But they are really cockeyed. Probably doing it on the side didn't help. Let me just come in. Get that straight down. Yeah, I should have just used a ruler. So much for that steady hand there. But here, watch this. To get rid of that, all I have to do is come in with my trusty brush here, and I can just lift that up very easily. So I can get that straight again. Oh, that looks better. Yeah, and when I'm not trying to do an outline here, so I can take it, I can bring that up. I can put that right up to the edge and I can go away from it. And let me double check. Yep. Sky could do the same thing here. Put them up to the edge and I can go away from it. Okay, so I don't want it outlined because if it's outlined, it's going to wind up looking really just let me test this. And then I've got this color right here. Let me bring a little bit there. And then let's come up from the bottom. And then I'll just bring a little bit over here. I like doing it both ways, but if you're doing it with a ruler, you really do want to avoid having it look like it's total outlined. So by using this brush here, I can just come in and I can just soften some of those edges so it doesn't look like it's totally outlined. And in here, drop down a little bit. So we'll just go like that. We'll do that. Horizontal window. I already have, like, see these little lines? I've got a couple of little lines, so I already chunked it, is already setting it up. So I'm just going to come over here and I'm just going to bring a little bit of this blue. It's really acting as my really white light. And this one I am going to use a stick because I do want to make sure and get that in the right spot. So there we go. Let me put that there. Side, lift, lift, lift. Now I'm going to do it like this so I can see my other lines. Same thing. I'm going to do lift, lift, lift. Okay. So that's the, whether you're doing a window or anything. What was I doing at planks on the wall for a group the other day? That's the way to do it. You do the whole background and then you can go in and I can adjust it as I go along. My guess is, I mean, this painting has, a couple hours left in it. So I'm going to be, I really do like that little bit of light that's falling right back here. So this is where that abstract design that I did in the background, this is when I can come through and I can say, okay, it's like the blue, I brought that up a little bit. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit of this blue here. So the line, I'm just gonna have a little bit of it come down, little of it come down. Take your finger. Okay, I like that. I'm gonna leave it alone now because I don't want to finish one area too far in advance. I would do the same thing with this area that's below it. It seems so. Does anyone have any questions as I'm just going along here? Okay.
Just enjoying the show.
Oh, okay, okay.
And I'm
Okay.
wondering about texture up on the window, on the upper panes of the window that look bluish greenish.
Yeah.
Some of the what am I seeing? Am I seeing texture or am I seeing just the pastel?
You're seeing texture and the pastel because this board, you know what? I can show, let me show you right now here because you'll be able to see because I do like this idea of the blue. When I drag this blue down here, let's say we're going to have the headlights are going to be somewhere right around here.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Oh, geez.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to put those, I'm just going to get those in so you can see them. Now I'm going to use this light color and I'm going to drag it down and you should be able to see the texture show up.
Okay, I see it.
Okay, well, this one not as much because I went sideways, but here, come down, it comes straight down. Okay, it's falling across here. Okay, it's coming straight down here. So I'm getting this texture that's showing up. And that's why the colors underneath are so important. I wanted to have this almost feel as though it was red paving stones. And this over here is, more tarmac. So that's got that slate blue muted. And this one had a little bit more of a reddish tone to it. I can come back and forth.
This shows the
and play.
beauty of the board, doesn't it?
It does show the beauty of the board, which is really nice. So I went and I did that in there quickly so you could see it. But this is another thing that's really nice about the board. I can just take this brush and I can lift off that top layer. Look at this. I'm very
Unbelievable.
lightly lifting off that top layer
Mhm.
because I
I
added
see
the
that.
lights too soon. So I'm able to lift that off and I haven't disrupted the what's underneath. Okay, that color is still there. So it's a lot easier to do that, I think, on, although I use these a lot, these fan brushes. So what I'm going to do is just continue with this idea of brick. And remember, this is my reminder that it's light there. So I'm going to get a little bit of this shape. And these figures are going to get, they're kind of a little tall and thin. So I'm going to kind of work on their shapes, but I've got the rough idea here. So I'm just going to come across with this one right here. Yep, that's that one right there, this muted one. Again, I'm not bringing in a whole load of new colors. I'm not using these light ones yet. I'm still in this middle zone. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to use this guy right in here. Very vertical. A horizontal stroke, sorry. There are little shadows kicking down here. So I have this dark area and I'm kind of going over it lightly and I'll probably come back. And I don't want to go outside this orange line. It's my little reminder. It's not going to stay orange, but that's my reminder that that's the edge there. Okay, and I don't want them just, even though that's brick and there's other brick, okay, hopefully that brick isn't going to be too okay, let's get a brick that's a color that's a little bit more muted, but not too light. And I'm using, somebody said last time, geez, can you tell me, what you're using? But at this point, I'm using all soft pastels. Okay, because I want to have a lot of, here I say that. Okay, here you go. This guy got in my box. This is, Rembrandts are good pastel, but look at that. Okay, they're hard. That's not even coming off. And I want something that's soft. I don't want it, this whole textural board. I do not want to be pushing down hard with it. I want the pastel just to come off and sit on that lovely textured surface. So this is a little bit on the orangey side. I don't know if I'm gonna like it. Oh, I don't know. Let's see. Let's try them. Oh, that might work. Okay, the lights over here. Lights here. There's my yellow. That reminder right through there. Get a little bit of it right here too. Okay, this is on top of that blue. That's nice. Now I can see that that's where these people are standing, so it can't be the curb. Nobody's going to stand on the curb, so I'm going to drop it a little bit below. And I can come in between the legs that are there. And now it feels like it's catching a little bit of the light that's coming from inside the building there. Just a little bit. I'm going back and forth here. Just bringing the shapes back up again. Okay, still on the search for that color. Ooh, let's see what this one is. Nah, he's lighter. I mean, he's darker. I want to go a little bit lighter. Let's try this one. Oh, okay. Okay, this one's a little bit lighter. Come through real slow. Coming through. There's a little light. Let's say this. There'd be more light right here. A little bit more right here. Okay, slowly, bit by bit. Gonna go now even a little bit lighter now. And these are all colors, pastels that have, this one still has a wrapper on. Unison, I love Unison. Okay, they have like a bullet shape, made in Great Britain. They are fabulous pastels. They're soft. They're not the super, super soft ones like Schminky or any of those, but their colors are great. So now I should be getting something in between. Look at that. Okay, now I'm moving into this section here. So let's get a little bit of the light flowing here. Okay, I'm going to get a little bit of the light flowing here. There's a shadow there. Might have to redesign this a little later, but I'll just get a little bit of that in. Real soft now. Remember, I pressed a little harder up there, a little softer here so that light's really coming in. And if you know, the other thing with this textured board, you can go over light. You know how you make mud a lot of the times on paper? I mean, there's a point at which, yes, then you are going to make mud, but you can get away with adding a dark color on top of the light. And you know my work. I don't work totally local. I use this as my starting off point, and then I add color as I see it in there. So because I have this light and I've got this really strong light that's falling here. Okay, it's coming out of this building here. So I changed the people around a little bit. So I'm getting like a little bit of light that's coming around those people. And there's not going to be something there because that would be blocking it. So let's just get a little bit in there. Maybe very lightly here. That is not tarmac. Just so you can see what's going to happen with this yellow. Okay, I would become, oh no, look at how light that is. Too light, wow. Okay, let's try this blue. Okay, he's a blue. Here's a, so look at, again, look at, he's a muted blue. This is going to be here and here. And now I'm going to take the light blue. And I'm just going to have him go over parts, not all of it. And again, parts, not all of it. Same thing's going to happen to this cross. Oops, hang on. Where's this guy? Test him over here. Gonna come in here, give a little bit of space. Came with that same blue that I had that was a little duller. And I can come up and I can, straighten any of those lines out if I want to. This is a little bit in the dark up here, a little bit dark here, a little dark here. Then there's little bits of light that falls on it, right where the headlight is. See this headlight here, coming down. So it's going to hit right here. Headlights here, headlights always come straight. Going to hit there, put a little bit of light in those two spots. And I hope I don't regret this, but I'm going to put a little bit of the blue right in here because it's still remember when I was doing this earlier so you can see the texture? Oops, oh jeez, didn't mean to do that. Then I come across down, let's catch it, and a little bit of back and forth, catching the light. And this went too far out, so I'm just going to knock that off just a little bit. So that catches the light. There's an edge there. There's an edge there. And there's an edge there. And this is that light that's coming straight down. And there's another crosswalk right there. So I'm just going to make a little line right there. So I've got that. So you can see how, and I did kind of go just a little bit quicker just so you could see how the shapes start to, emerge from the background. And again, I don't always add more color. Sometimes I'll just come in and I'll say, okay, I just need to lift. And it's really easy to lift on this textured paper. So I know some of you in workshops or classes have done the textured paper surface with me, I should say. And this lifting, real light strokes, That's another reason why I like the soft pastel instead of the harder pastels, because the soft pastel is easier to lift off because there's more of the particles that are there. Okay, I think I went a little bit crazy with the size of that. This guy right here. I'm trying to show it to you. And that's a little too muted. I need something that's just really, let's try this. Let's try this guy. Touching the bottom. I'm gonna do something on the next, I did the painting of glass, and then I did the painting buoys. The next one's going to be on doing traffic light, window lights, neon lights, something like that. So that you'll be getting an email on that one.
Is that going to be a studio?
Yeah, that's going to be that the pop-up paint-alongs. So
good.
Yeah, they're 2 hours, $15, and you just paint along with me.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's the next one. I did have a couple people that asked about doing more with glass, like a vase with a flower, and I thought, oh, that'd be nice. I think I'll probably do that maybe in June, July. I can't believe we're.
No.
So May's gonna be the street lights. Neon signs, something. So I'll get some small little nighttime scene to do.
Would it be about this same time? This is a good time for me.
Yeah, you know what? It's going to vary depending on my schedule. And
right.
Just a second. I have it right here on my calendar. It's going to be on. Where is it? Oh, it's on Tuesday the 24th. It's going to be from 2 until 4. Excuse me. But send your suggestions if there's anything at all you're interested in. Okay, so let me just go back now so that we can see it from a little bit from the distance. Okay, so you can see how I've kicked up the colors, but it's still a pattern of lights and darks, and I still have my darks are anchoring everything. I've really knocked down over here, picked up the colors. That color did work out really nice. I like that color. And I mean, you can do the same thing with local colors. I've explained that before, that my palette, I do tend to choose colors that are not necessarily the real object, something that I've almost personalized and put a little bit more color into something. But I'm always thinking about whether it's dark or light, well, dark, middle, or light, or how warm or cool the color it is. And today I was talking a lot about how I was using muted colors, and then I was also, although I don't think I used the word vivid, but I was really trying to choose colors that really had a kick to them. Your intense or your vivid colors. So always thinking of those things. So, any questions, comments?
Well, I have a comment.
Yes.
So my eyes, I love this, Betsy, but my eyes are going to the highlights you put around their feet.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Can that, because I'm noticing it's I can't really see much of it. It looks like there's only one highlight on near the feet in the photo, and I'm looking at your the two people walking, and you only have one highlight there like that. Is that a highlight?
Yeah, I'm not highlighting the people at all right now. What I'm trying to do is highlight around them, but that's going to get altered as I start to develop the people. So you're seeing this little bit of light right there.
I kind of like that.
Yeah, well, the idea is sometimes I'll put little, it's kind of like the way I had that yellow, and then the yellow is starting to disappear. It's just like a kick reminder. Okay, light is going to be here. Don't forget that light's going to be coming through, where this figure is, which is why I have two shadows there. So I need to bear that in mind as I'm planning. And I also have to remember I've shifted the people slightly over from I tried to keep this and this together, but they are slightly farther over. But yeah, no, that's not, here.
Okay,
Let
so
me move the
that's my-
cursor out of the way. I'm seeing this arrow in my face.
Can I just say something? I think those windows above are just magnificent.
oh yeah, they are.
Well, and truthfully, that is one of the key things to do with windows is don't put in all, I mean, there was lines underneath, I could vaguely see them, but don't put all the ornament, all the, the casing around the window first. Get the lights that are in the window or the lack of lights if it's a dark window, like what's going to happen in most of these over here.
Okay.
And you keep it really abstract, and then you can add whatever sort of, and again, I kept that loose. I don't really want to have a straight line, because you know how it is when something is really bright, you kind of lose the line, it kind of disappears because of the brightness that's behind it. Now, the photograph might not capture that. Okay, the photograph is going to show a lot more detail than we would see in real life if we were standing there. So that's what I'm bearing in mind too.
So I don't remember that you were going to put all those people in. Back to the people, but I like.
Yeah. No, the people were always going to go in because in my head, what I was always, the underpainting did actually have these people as just like a mob. And then slowly I've kind of broken them up a little bit. But I do like those groups of people. And again, that a key thing to remember, and of course it's a general rule, not everybody's the same height, and especially this is with adults, not with adults and children, is the headline are really all at about the same height. Some are a little shorter, some are a little taller, but you don't want to make the mistake of having the people in the foreground much shorter than the people that are in the background, because it gives the impression that the perspective is off or you've drawn children, to tell you the truth. So that's why these are all pretty much at about the same height. And then I threw a few kids in. Anything else? Oh, good. So, okay, well, I'm going along with this guy here. I'll work on him a bit more. There'll be a point where I'll just get rid of the photograph altogether. I'll shape out a little bit of shaping on the cars. Again, I don't really want to do a lot of definition back there. I'll check out some of my lines. It feels as though I went in a little bit on a cockeye with that building. Another thing, be careful when you take pictures of buildings, especially if they're tall buildings. A lot of times a photograph almost starts to have them merge in too far on a slant. And there is that aerial perspective where there is the perspective line up in the sky with your real tall skyscrapers, but we're not looking at skyscrapers. We're only looking at a 4 floor, maybe 5 floor building right there.
Betsy, what are you going to do with the car? Nothing?
Oh, no, the car, yeah, no, I'll get the headlights in. I'll do a little bit of variation. See the way I've kind of tucked down in here? And I've created like a little bit of a edge. So I'll come down a little bit more with the edge to just make a distinction between the car that is parked and the car that is driving. But I know right where that is because, there's my headlights.
Oh, so you've got two cars?
Well, actually, maybe those are supposed to be my headlights. Well, anyway, the headlights are over there.
You have 2 cars?
Oh, there's a whole line of cars there. There's a ton of cars. Yeah, there's a whole row of cars parked right here, but they're just going to merge. I don't need to identify all of those cars. What I need to do is identify the pattern of roof line of the cars dipping down, and just the one car right here that is that has the headlights. Okay. What I'll do is I will put when I send out the link to this, I'll send out the photograph so you can see what the actual photograph looked like too. And depending on, I don't know how much I'll get done between now and the weekend when I'll send out the recording, but I can always send as much as I've done so far. Okay.
Good, yeah, I love it. You're so good at the night scenes.
Oh, I do love the night scenes. I must admit, I really love them. And I like them on both the black UArt paper. That's, my go-to choice for sanded papers. And I tend to paint on like that 500, right smack in the middle. I have used on either side up to 800 and down to 200, but I kind of like that middle of the ground. Again, I like things that are really textural. And then, these boards that I make. The approach is just slightly different with the board because I used to start with a black board. I do not start with a black board anymore. I start with dark and light, no tan underneath. So I have a dark violet and I have a yellow. For dark violets for all my dark areas, and the yellow is for my, was it? No, it was a dark bluish green. Where am I getting the violet from? Sorry.
Was it? No, I don't know. I remember the yellow. The
Yeah,
yellow I do.
and the yellow, yeah, and the dark bluish green.
In
Well,
fact,
that's
I
another reason I figured I'd do this for the studio, because some of you saw me start this.
Yeah.
As a template of how you started on a textured board. So I thought, okay, well, now you can see how the next phase goes along.
It's perfect. Do you remember the paper you used to paint the one I have?
That was UArt.
That's UF 400 or?
It's probably 500 is typically my go-to, but I do occasionally buy like one of their mixed packets of black UArt, but I do tend to do things on the 500.
But that's smoother. That starts getting smooth up when you go.
200, 800 is your smoothest. 200 is your coarsest of the UArt, and then 800 is your finest. So it's kind of like in the middle.
Huh.
Yeah.
I've never tried that before. Okay.
Yeah, and UArt does sell, I think for the blacks, they do sell mixed packets of, or that you can, buy a set and have, variety. I know they definitely do it in their typical buff beige, whatever you want to call it, whatever they call that color they use, which I'm not really crazy about the UArt for other things, but I love it for the black paper. It's really terrific.
Don't you use it as a basic, that plain color?
No,
you don't.
No,
you don't.
I do almost everything on pastel matte. That tends to be my go-to paper for non-nocturnes.
Non-nocturnes. I tried to put a light pastel covering on pastel matte, but when I went to put the alcohol in, it didn't do anything. It just didn't do anything.
This is why I like pastel matte. Pastel matte it doesn't react the same as some of the other papers, but I like that because it keeps it keeps your stroke. It's got a really heavy, it doesn't feel like it, but for people that like to blend a lot in the initial stages, pastel matte is probably frustrating because you can't blend your stroke. So which is what I like. I like seeing the strokes and the mark making.
Well, I laid the pastel on heavier and it took the alcohol beautifully. Do you do alcohol? Do you work with alcohol?
Just don't touch it when it's wet. It just doesn't like to be touched. You'll leave your fingerprint behind.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks,
Make sure it's totally dry before you add any pastel to it or touch it. It's totally stable. It's just it will get gouged if you put pastel on while it's still wet, or if you touch it too soon, you can disrupt the surface.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's a good tip. Thanks, Betsy.
Okay, no trouble at all. Well, thank you, everyone. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Betsy.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next one's going to be a little later in June. I'll send that out in a notice closer to June. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay.
Have a good
Nice seeing
weekend.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.